hired. There's no workers to find in the area at all.
And her coffee is great. There's a great potential.
So the importance of the family farms is really, really, you know, very important in this area, because if they have, let's say, 10 hectares and they're picking over a long time, they're actually doing it themselves. They take more care of it. I think that's one of the reasons why the coffees are showing more interesting flavors and cleaner and more acidic. This being a nice, beautiful farmhouse on the farm that they abandoned 28 hectares. The trees are still there, they're just not producing, they can't fertilize it and so on. They don't have people to do it. The varieties in the area, a lot of strange stuff like Iapar 59, which is a hybrid of Hybrido de Timor and something else. Tastes really good some places. The Catimor.
This is a Catuai actually, and it's like enormous. The coffees there are big. Are your coffees big?
Yeah.
It's amazing. All my suppliers, the coffee beans are enormous, and it's a Catuai.
Yeah.
This picture.
And they have a lot of Caturra as well.
Yeah.
This is a picker at your farm, hand-picking coffee. This is a rare site in the area, and this is actually a picture from Felipe's farm in Sao Paulo. So this is, you know, ideal. If you have trees like this, you can just strip pick and whatever. In Espirito Santo, this is not the case at all.
But that wouldn't be good in Espirito Santo for these families. How can they manage to harvest everything at the same period?
Yeah.
How can they do that? They don't have labor. They are very poor. So it's good for them that the maturation goes from June to December because they're able to pick only the family. So sort of, there's a good balance there, I guess.
We also saw some not so nice coffees, of course, because this is in the case where the farm is getting too big and they don't really have labor to hand pick. So they just have to, you know, tear it off the tree. And you come to a point where there's no point having them on the tree anymore, so you just have to clean it. A lot of at least what Pedro says from the cooperative, a lot of the coffees in the area are phenolic, and especially the naturals, because it's very humid. So that's why, there's two reasons I think why Espirito Santo is not famous. Most of the naturals are phenolic, and they harvest much later, so most of the clients have already bought coffee. So they just get mixed into, you know, coffees that go to Sara Lee and these big companies. And also one of the issues is that when you go to one of these family farms, this is from your drying bed, but still, this would represent one small micro lot that was picked during a week or a day or something, and the volumes are very small.
They're very small, yeah. The producers I'm working with, one of them is 30 bags a year, and the other one is 180 bags a year.
I'm picking 1 bag a week, maybe.
Yeah.
So this is some raised beds we came across. A very good coffee. We're going to taste this coffee as well. But most of them are drying in patios that are covered. Of course, it gets very hot, and that's not good for the coffee. But if they don't cover it like this, it's just too humid to dry the coffee. So Isabella has been putting shade into some of these.
Yeah, we've been visiting. One of them built the raised beds now for this year. And the other one, he actually had the same material that she used for the raised beds. He covered inside his patio. He sort of covered the area so the temperature wouldn't go for more than 40 degrees. Yes. So he's controlling and he's trying with all of I mean, they don't have a lot of money, but they're trying to do whatever they can to enhance quality after being fairly paid.
And that's one of the beauties, I think, in the area. You have the creative, crazy Italian guys mixed with German precision and, you know, construction and systematic. So they actually, when they go to the farms, a lot of the times they will have like homemade solutions to the processing equipment and very, very clever small ideas made out of very cheap material.
Like so the drum of that Tommasini guy, he used the drum of an old washing machine.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
To get the water out of the coffee before it's drying. They use small containers for washing. You know, instead of building one in concrete that gets dirty, you just use a plastic one. It's much easier. So they have a lot of creative ideas. And they're
very clean, neat.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The patios are impeccable, aren't they?
Yeah. They also have a competition, the Pronova cooperative that I've visited this year. They have a competition to sort of rate the best quality coffee. And they have some sponsors, so the winner will get a prize. And then what happens to the coffee? It just gets blended into something, or someone buys it, and it rarely reaches the market as the best coffee from Espirito Santo. It's just, it gets sold. So that's one of the things that we want to help them change is they have the competition, they have the system of selecting good micro lots. It's actually, they're going to cup next week.
Yes.
How do we get these coffees into the market? That's a thing we have to think about. This is a question that I get a lot. How do you start sourcing coffee? How do you get into a new area, and where do you find the coffee, and so on? For you, it's more easy, maybe?
Yeah, for me it's easier. I've been working with coffee for 14 years, and I know the producers. We've been working together, so I go to all the cuppings that I can, and contests, and every prize I can. Well, and I get a lot of samples. And I have a good media in Brazil. I mean, we're out there in the media, so which is good. Of course, I have a PR. I pay a PR to help on that. So it's not, for me, it's not difficult. I cup, and then if I love the sample, I go after the producer. And then, for me, it's that easy.
For me, it's about networking. I mean, this room is full of roasters, and I'm sure one of you have more expertise in one origin than the other. So when I go to Brazil, or if it's any other origin, I ask my friends who are there, which people should I contact? And then maybe they don't know, but they put you in touch with another one.
Right.
And that's what I told you earlier. That's how I met this guy, Pedro, which is the head of the cooperative Pronova. That Edgar, is Edgar here? Or?
Yeah.
He's back there. He put me in contact with, and 2 emails, and the deal was done. And I was visiting, and he was going to take me around, and very easy to communicate with. And that's how I start. And then the next step, we started cupping coffees. There's no point, going around visiting 10,000 farmers if they don't have any good coffee. So we did a cupping full day. The coffees were a little roasted, so we re-roasted them, cut them the second day to confirm. And then we picked out 6 producers, and I visited 2 of them. Because of time, I didn't have time to visit more. But at least they will start sending samples from these 6 producers, and then we can see who is able to consistently produce a quality that has good potential. Because it's not necessarily that it's fantastic the first year. Sometimes it takes a little time to help the producer, clean up their process and so on.
True.
Obviously, I went to Espirito Santo last year with Isabella, so it takes time. Like last year, I didn't even buy any coffee. This year, I might buy 20 bags. Next year, we're aiming for much more. And also next year, I'm going to go during the harvest and start working with the producers that I've found this year to see if they can improve the quality.
You have to build trust on them, because they have been mistreated mostly. They don't know, they don't have the information, they don't have the way. Sometimes people abuse, sometimes they just don't know. So you have to build that up.
And a lot of times they've been screwed over not getting paid enough.
Right.
So they don't really trust all the promises you leave them. Which brings us to the next sort of political topic we're going to cover, and what is a fair price for quality coffee in Brazil?
Anywhere.
Does anyone have an idea what a good Brazilian coffee should cost per pound? $2, $3? 3? Yeah. That's what you would think that is a great price?
For typical Brazil.
5 is pretty normal.
So 375 maximum here.
Like 5?
5.
She definitely works for you.
Yeah, you work for me, so it doesn't count. Some others? No, but one of the really big issues we have been talking about already is labor. It's really difficult to get labor in Brazil, and of course there might be many reasons. You have a welfare system?
Yeah, a very unfair system. Okay. Well, we do. for his farms, for example, you have to pay everything, like highly expensive costs to have people picking in your farm. So the things that you put in the plant, how do you say that in English? I mean, fertilizers. Yes, the fertilizer. I don't know how expensive they are, they're not in Brazil, but in Brazil, everything is very costly for them. So it's hard because you can't compare Brazilian coffee to Kenyan. I know that, sort of, but how can we keep having and motivating these guys to produce good coffee, because they're going to quit. And every time I go there, I hear 2 to 3 more stories that people quitting. So we're not going to get any good coffee. And it's not only in Brazil that I've been hearing these talks, right?
Yeah.
So what's a fair price? I have a system. I developed a system with my producers, but it's easy for me because I don't have the logistics costs as well. So that is it's nice, and I go direct. So it's for cupping scores, and from 85 I pay a very high price already, and then for each point I add 50 reais, which would be around $25 more per bag. So that's for each one score.
We did the maths with Pedro when we were there to see if I pay $3 FOB, that means free on board, so for the bag arriving to the ship. What does the farmer get out of that? And then we calculated he will barely break even on $3 if it's a good quality coffee that they have to hand pick and do everything. $3.50 they have a small margin. $4 they have a slightly bigger margin, and so on. So that's the starting point, and it's growing because the labor cost is growing. There's no pickers because you can get welfare if you don't work. People move into the city. The cost of fertilizer, everything is more expensive because the Brazilian economy is quite strong compared to Colombia and Kenya and so on. So that's why I think a lot of people are resilient to buy Brazilian coffees, because when you actually do get the good qualities, you really have to pay $4, $5, $6, $7 sometimes.
But I see something good in this, being small families picking coffee, because their cost is a little lower than other regions or in Hiques or other small producers in Brazil. And so their costs a little lower, so they actually can make it if we pay fairly. Yeah.
The opposite is this. They abandon the farm completely. They remove the trees, they plant eucalyptus, there's no more coffee for you to buy. And that's happening as we speak. More and more every day. So you come there and you say, oh, I pay great prices for coffee, I pay $3 a pound. That will erase the coffee from this map completely. So you're just shooting your own foot. There's no future in that. And it might be a good price for a mass-produced, strip-picked, machine-picked coffee from a huge farm, but for these small producers who are actually able to produce the very best coffees, it's not a good price at all.